Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our blockchain and crypto session. I am Catherine Oakes, founder and CEO of SliceXR, which is a Web3 creative agency that drives brands in the digital era. And today it is my pleasure to have Scott Gerke, who is the founder of CEO and Fisheez. And Scott is going to shed some light on how blockchain and crypto work within the decentralized finance space. Hello, Scott. How are you today? It's so
I'm
nice
really good.
to be here.
Good to be here. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And I know you have a presentation to share. So maybe you can start sharing this presentation. And I know you're going to start by
Sure.
giving us some interesting statistics that really shed some light on the industry itself, the trends, and why industries and companies should really seriously look into blockchain and decentralized systems.
Is it right? Can you see my share now?
No, so I'm going to share it for you. Let me just do that. I'm going to do this way. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. So now I think you should, yeah. All right.
There we
So
go.
let's just go to the next page. So go ahead.
Oh, you wrote this part. I actually didn't write this part, but 20% of adults own cryptocurrency, representing 50 million people in the US,
Yeah.
which is interesting. The majority are young people, 18 to 29, men. And I know that from my deep research on that. And 65% are men actually in America. Bitcoin's obviously the most popular crypto that everyone heard of. 75% of crypto holders in the US have Bitcoin. So the Deloitte Global Blockchain Survey, 55% of US companies view blockchain as critical and strategic, and 83% of executives decided that also, which I don't know what the stats were about 5 years ago, but I bet it was down into the 30% of executives maybe. And around 45% of financial institutions in the US are actively investing and consider blockchain to be really important for payments, settlement, and smart contracts, which is something we're going to talk about.
Hmm.
And the total market cap, it went down today because Bitcoin just fell about 1,000 after the announcement for our high CPI. But it's around 1.2 trillion. It's probably still around there right now, actually. But it's gotten up a little higher than that. But it's starting to get to the point where people always say it's going to get close to gold, which is around 10 trillion market cap. So
Yeah, these are really
and
interesting statistics. Yeah. And I forgot to mention, everyone, if you have any questions, comments, you can put them in the comment area on LinkedIn.
good.
So, hey, go ahead.
Well, you can go to the next slide if you like. I don't have control of it now, or maybe I do. So, what is blockchain? We're just going to go through these slides really quick and easy. And we've got some stuff at the end we could talk about, and then if there's questions. But blockchain is just a digital record keeping system. Pretty simple. It stores information across many computers, making it decentralized. So, there's no single person or company that can control it, which is decentralization. That's the main focus. And once a transaction is added to the blockchain, it can't be changed unless all the participants in the network agree, which is why Bitcoin is so safe. And there is no company that controls Bitcoin because it was started by Satoshi Nakamoto, which no one knows who that is, regardless of what people tell you. There's a Netflix special coming out that
Mhm.
everyone's excited about, but I don't think it's that guy. But I'll watch it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So can I go forward on these? I think you have to do the. Oh, I can do
Well,
it.
yeah, you can, yeah.
Oh, nice. So I just went real quick. Public versus private. You've got public blockchains like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Cardano. They're open to anyone. They're decentralized and they're transparent. And then the new phase now are private blockchains, which JP Morgan developed one called Quorum, just for the financial business that they do. And it's just restricted to members they allow in, and they can control access and permissions. And there's a lot of different companies doing that right now. There's a lot of layers to that too that I can get into later. So, next slide. What is cryptocurrency and how does it work? So, it's just digital currency that operates on a blockchain. So, Bitcoin, BTC, is the cryptocurrency that you buy and sell, but it operates on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's something people don't realize, I think. And crypto is just used as a medium of exchange, a store of value, or an investment. And it's used in many different ways, which I'm going to start talking about now, which DeFi, which people hear that term, which is just decentralized finance. It's the financial services started using smart contracts on blockchain, which Ethereum was the very first smart contract blockchain to be built. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. So what DeFi does, it removes the need for intermediaries. So you don't need banks and brokers, and a lot of other pieces of the puzzle fall apart for some people that are in business currently that are going to be out of business soon, because it's kind of like the mortgage broker thing where all of a sudden software starts taking over those businesses. And so you can support lend, you know what I mean?
So Scott, this is something I think that worries a lot of people right now. Right?
Yeah.
The removal of this type of intermediaries. I mean, how should businesses approach this? Is there anything that they should be doing to get ready for that transition?
I think a lot of them are. Well, some are going to just kind of not have a business anymore, when you start looking at some companies, but most are going to find ways, just like AI, you'll find a way to work with it inside of your own company. I one of my buddies he sends international money FX through Swift, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. But that takes 3 days. It's been 50 years they've been selling. It takes 3 days to wire money, and now it takes 3 seconds. So people are able to do it using smart contracts, so they don't need all the other contracts that other people have used in all these years and had lawyers involved. And you can actually build smart contracts and have escrow built in, which I'll talk about too, which is what Fisheez is all about.
Right.
So you can borrow, you can trade, you can do insurance, you can earn interest on digital assets, and that's what DeFi stands for. So now, what is the blockchain's role in supply chain transparency? It makes it a mutable record of every transaction, and it tracks the ownership of all the assets from the production to delivery. So if something's coming from a factory to America from China, it could potentially have a QR code or a code attached to it that goes to the blockchain, and every step it takes to get here, you can see it. Or you can start talking about animals and food and how that makes it to the table, so that if there's an outbreak of E. coli, they can track down things, and they can go back and prove where it is and where it came from and what truck it was on, and that kind of stuff. And in the future, the Internet of Things will add on to that with temperature, or even like they'll be able to tell, hey, it was on this box truck and the temperature dropped and this is what happened, and at this point this is why it did this, and things like that. There's a lot coming. And so it also identifies inefficiencies, and it prevents fraud, and it can reduce counterfeit items. And obviously counterfeit's a pretty big one. Actually, if you send a purse from Gucci and it makes it to the person, they can check that it's actually from there, as long as there's a sticker that's stuck on it forever, which people are working on that and doing that too.
Yeah. So questions people are asking me a lot is AI going to replace people here, or is it really going to enhance what we can do, or what we are currently doing in our jobs? I mean, what's your answer to that?
The answer is yes. On both blockchain and AI, it's going to replace people. But at the same time, it is going to enhance people's jobs too. So it just makes you better at a lot of things. Like you can do artwork you could never do before, and put out a post. Even somebody that's into media or creating websites or anything, code. I mean, everyone says that developers are going to go out of business because AI you can tell it to write a code for a smart contract and it'll do it, but it never does everything perfect, because it's, if you have garbage information in, you're going to get garbage out. So we're always going to be fine tuning and fixing and massaging everything about all of it, because it can't run itself and it doesn't think for itself. No matter what people think AI does, it doesn't think for itself. It just regurgitates and spits out whatever it's been fed. So that's the blockchain. You have to constantly watch over and there's always upgrades, and there's always things changing. There's always hackers. There's always a constant influx. So it creates more jobs, I think, in a lot of ways too.
True, true.
So what's next? Cross-border payments. I was just talking about that a little bit. So it's faster, cheaper, and more secure than traditional systems. Swift, they're actually wiring money. They can do it in 3 seconds now. They've been working with Chainlink, which is who Fisheez is working with also with Base and Chainlink. And Chainlink can connect real-world data, so it can connect all the banks to Swift, and it just made it simple. It's interoperable too. So that's going to be the future. And then there's no more 3-day wires. So that's a
It's going to be
beautiful thing.
instantaneous, instant, right? Instant transfer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the tokenized assets people are talking about real world assets, and you hear that word a lot. And it's basically just physical or digital assets that are represented by tokens. So a building or a car or anything, a house. And I put in here a little note about BlackRock. They just created a $13 trillion fund called BIDL that is all of their assets, and they're tokenizing everything they have, which is $13 trillion. So that's the future. They're also building on Base, as is my company, Fisheez. So, the future is blockchain, and people like this are jumping in, and $13 trillion is nothing to sneeze at, especially when you look at the market cap of what all of crypto is right now, 1.2.
Yes, and that's interesting. Is that happening worldwide? Is it happening more in the US? I mean, what's the trend?
Everywhere is doing it. Yeah, it's all over. Real world assets. If you start looking that up, everyone's trying to put real estate on, and there's so much real estate in the world. That's the biggest asset in the world, really. So BlackRock just happens to have 13 trillion in assets, and they just decided, hey, let's start now. Let's start moving. And they're doing a lot actually in the space. They are the biggest movers and shakers in America, besides the largest company. But I mean, pretty much they're the ones that are adopting it really quick. The banks are fighting it while BlackRock is moving towards it. So, and that's kind of where we are right now. But everyone's going to be adopting it. America's adopting it too. It's just that they're fighting to try and slow down the funds leaving the fiat system.
That's true, but is that also highly regulated or not regulated enough? I mean, what's the issue here?
It's just that it's so new that people are just figuring out how to do it and figuring out the best ways. I mean, there's been real estate companies around like for 7 or 8, 9 years, tokenizing and selling real estate, but it's just because everything gets built out and it's a wave of new things being built. Just like my company, Fisheez, a few years ago, just in general, Base, they're only 12 months old. So Coinbase created Base, and I was using a different blockchain called Polygon that I was going to build on, and instead we switched to Base because Coinbase started it, and there's no dollar amount, there's no coin, there's no crypto on Base. It's just you use Ethereum, and you can use stable coins. So that's where BlackRock actually did the same thing. They came in and said, we're going to build on Base because it's not going to ever have a problem being a security, is really why I think they did it. Kind of the reason I moved over is because Polygon is considered a security right now in America, which is why I'm building in Switzerland. But that's I'm coming back here, and I'm not using Polygon anymore. No matter what they do in the court with them, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't care. They've already agreed to be okay with, Europe is accepting stable coins like USDC from the company Circle, and they've got a Euro digital coin too. So we're going to allow people to trade with stable coins on our site and I'm trying to stay away from, what the governments are trying to do. I understand it. So I'm trying to play inside their ball field, but let everyone come in, but not have to completely be inside of their field and do everything they want me to do, but use all the tools I can to stay outside of the banks is kind of where I'm coming from. And
I get it.
Let's get to the next slide here. What do we got next? So that gets me to the smart contracts, which are really important because they function. There's a lot of businesses that are going to be using smart contracts for so many different things. And all they are is programs that are stored on the blockchain that execute automatically when conditions are met. Or you can create internally, like I'll go into that in a minute, but you can create different conditions. If this thing is shipped and if this thing is delivered, and those kind of things could automatically let money flow through versus no, this was not delivered, from UPS, then it
Got it.
wouldn't
Got it.
wouldn't
So
let
these are conditions that the two parties are defining together, or is it part of the?
before, yeah, you define it.
All right.
So yeah, so it's basically in there. There's a lot of conditions you can put in,
Mhm.
for, there's just so much that can be built in. Just imagine any contract, but
Yeah.
anything that's actionable, was this done? Was this done? Was this signed? Those kind of things.
Hmm.
And, I'm using it to talk to FedEx and to shipping companies and then title companies. And you can talk to real world, DocuSign and say, was this signed? And all this is all coming. Everybody's going to be using the blockchain to sign documents in the future.
Okay. All right. So
So,
when you say everybody's going to be using, when do you anticipate that to happen?
well, I mean, I could go down the rabbit hole of what I think's going on. Once the de-dollarization of the US dollar happens and our banks start to fail soon, I believe we're going to be completely pushing forward with blockchain, which they're already doing behind the scenes. All the banks are using it across the world, and everything's kind of playing out. And it's been held up by the United States SEC. Everybody else is kind of building and doing, and they're all looking over here at us, wondering and waiting and seeing what we're going to do,
Mhm.
because the United States has a lot to say in these kind of things. People aren't going to put their full faith in things until they see us do it,
Right.
which we're not allowing it to happen yet. But it's because the full faith of the US dollar's kind of been shot, and now we have to do something. So I could go down that rabbit hole, but I think, in 10 years from now, everybody's going to be on blockchain for everything. In 5 years from now, all the banks that are big ones, they're building out. I mean, who knows? I mean, as far as like BlackRock, they've got 13 trillion in assets that they have to add to the blockchain now. Maybe in 5 years, they've got 4 or 5 trillion of them on there already. I don't know how long it's going to take. Truly, it might be really fast depending on how they do it. But
Hmm.
it seems like there's a lot of work behind each piece of property and all that stuff and how they're going to build it. But they've already got uh, hundreds and hundreds of millions on that um,
Yeah.
biddle, though. So,
Yep. Yeah.
so smart contracts are the future for sure. They're built on Ethereum, like I said. There's other smart contracts, other blockchains are building, but Ethereum started it, and they created their own programming language called Solidity. So the ERC20 is the standard that everyone builds on,
Okay.
which it's like the base of what base is. It's what the base of Ethereum, and everyone sort of builds on ERC20 standards, and then you can use different um, standard. There's other ERC 721 and 1155 from Ethereum that I'm particularly using, so that the smart contracts can change and be upgradable, and they can do different actions that we are going to use it for,
Okay. And
which I
one
think
question, Scott, where is
yeah,
this contract say that? I mean,
it's
how
on the blockchain. It's
okay.
like a smart contract is just code,
Okay.
and it's just so like the contract we're writing is the code talks to a bunch of different things. I
Mm-hmm.
have 6 or 7 different NFTs, types of NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
which is what this is, that the code is going to create a contract, but it also integrates with all these other NFTs that I've created. So one will say, this is the storefront for this contract. This is the Tide Turner NFT that gives this person a discount on this deal for whatever price this thing is. And so there's actionable things that the smart contract will pull in. Oh, he has this NFT, he has this one, he has this one. Great. And it'll compact it in there and set it up. And the terms will then be, if somebody says it's $100 thing I'm selling, and the Tide Turner gets you a percentage off of the service fee, which might have been 3%. So it'll be 1.5%. It goes into the blockchain. And then when someone purchases it from this account, and they basically pay into the blockchain, into that smart contract, when it
Mm-hmm.
executes, then all the money comes out and everybody gets their money. And it's basically it's very complicated, but it's I've never really tried to explain it that way, but it's a complicated, complicated thing. If you kind of break it down simply, it's just a contract that executes,
Yeah.
but it's how you want it to and what your business is, and there's all kinds of ways you can do that. So what an NFT is, what I was talking about, is a non-fungible token, which most people have no idea what that means. It just means that they're unique. So the NFT, they have specific data and attributes. They're one of a kind. So they're not fungible with another one. They do
Mm-hmm.
not match up exactly with another one. Like one Bitcoin is just like another Bitcoin, but an
Mm-hmm.
NFT can be set up to be a picture of a fish, but it could also have data in it that's different than the next picture of the same picture of a fish. So it's like the tide turner has these things, but there could be different data inside of each one that specifically gives up more power or
Yeah.
more voting rights.
But anybody can create their own NFTs, right?
Yeah, people can go create NFTs on. Yeah, you can create them. You have to launch them to the blockchain, and you can use different places like OpenSea. We're launching ours on our own, so they're only going to be used on our website, so that our platform has use for them. They're called utility. Basically, like each one of the NFTs we create have a utility that makes
Mm-hmm.
it gives them power on our platform, either
Mm-hmm.
discounts or charity votes or voting rights, or it's your digital ID. And there's different pieces. We've got something called a peacemaker, but that people that help on the dispute resolutions, they take tests. They'll get an NFT that proves that they took a test and passed it.
Okay.
So there's all these little pieces of that puzzle.
Right.
So
Right.
NFTs can't be split into two. So they're just a thing. You can't split somebody's JPEG of a monkey in two. It's just that is it. And it's provable and it's transferable
Yeah.
and interoperable. So you can use them on different platforms. Like ours are going to be used on our platform only, but
Okay.
someone else could actually build a platform and accept them as a use case, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be reliant on
Mm-hmm.
us. We're not doing that. So that's what NFTs are. The future trends and opportunities in blockchain. I think I talked about a lot of it already, but expanding into more DeFi across more industries, the finance, it's going to hit everything you could think of, every major
So
company in the world.
I would believe so. Do you think there are specific industries that will be somehow forced to adopt blockchain sooner than others?
Well, real estate is already probably one of the first to really jump hardcore into it. So they're not going to be forced into do it. Yeah, they probably will be forced into it by the time it's done. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're not jumping into it yet, you're going to be soon, especially since the realtors just got cut and all their pay was cut recently. I don't know if you remember that or heard that, but it's always been 5 or 6%, and that just kind of went away.
Yeah.
So they're already feeling that crunch. Like mortgage people have been feeling crunches for a long time, but there's going to be, healthcare is an interesting one and extremely difficult because of HIPAA laws. So, but there's just so many things happening behind the scenes that we have no idea, that these giant companies are spending a lot of money. I can tell you that,
Yeah.
just because they know it's just easier to keep records because you can't change them. They just are what they are. You can put that document in there and boom, anyone can go back and look at it. You can keep it private now. That over the years, when you started with Ethereum smart contracts, they weren't as private. They weren't either able to be like sectored off to, everyone could see them. So now they have all these different codes where you can actually give people authorization codes. So they can't, if they can't buy it, they can't buy something from you unless they're authorized to be inside that system to buy that thing or to look at that project or to look at that healthcare document.
Which is going to be critical, the higher level of security, right?
Yeah, well, that's part of it too. That's what people always think. Well, everyone can see it. Well, no, there's different ways to stop people. Not everybody can see it, but everything can be hacked, but so can databases, and everyone knows that because we're hacked every day. They're just constantly. But it's just a better way to track things, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the future, there's going to be growth of NFTs. NFTs had a huge bubble 2 years ago, and they blew up, and everyone walked away from that industry. And I looked at it and I could never figure out why people were buying the pictures of monkeys and penguins and paying, 20, 30, 50, 100 million. People paid $4 million for a pair of shoes or something like one time. It was crazy money. Not 100 million. I'm sorry. I think it was like 10, but just crazy numbers. You see things happening and you're like, why? But the deal is that's kind of how I look at it like this in a weird way, where when Amazon started with books, it was easy. He tried to find the common denominator was he could ship easy, he could stack them easy, and there was millions of them. And NFTs were easy to make because you just boom, you can make a bunch of them, and they don't have to be attached to a platform like what I'm building. But they were just a picture. That's all it was a picture. And people were like, hey, let's build a community around this. And so people were doing that. And then a lot of people got burned because there's no value to them really, except for it's cool, it's art, it's a
Well,
collectible.
and what happened to the Bored Ape Yacht Club? I mean, that was
They're
very.
all around. They're still there. They made 10,000 of them, but they
Mhm,
don't get traded like they used to. They used to get traded and then it would go up in price. And then when the market crashed 90%, people
mhm,
that are holding them that they used to be worth X, they're not getting that money anymore. So they just sit, and
mhm.
eventually some people buy one or two or here. But, there could be in 10 years from now, they could be worth $1 million a piece because of them being collectibles. And there's so much money has flowed in. It's just like, Amazon starting, he was just selling books and then eventually he sold other stuff. And then eventually he let sellers come in. That's what NFTs are going to grow into. It's like, people are going to start realizing what you can use them for. Like I started really digging in a couple of years ago and realized, oh my God, when I started learning Solidity and all the code, learned about smart contracts, and I wrote my own NFT and I started looking at it, the big picture. And I was like, wow, you know, why aren't people creating, NFTs that actually do something that interact with these platforms besides gaming? Everyone's building gaming and everyone's building the next coin that they can sell for a ton of money. And I come from the background of services, and I've been selling on Amazon for 12 years, and I've been Alibaba for 17, and eBay for 22 years. So I kind of came from a different world, and
Mhm.
I was looking at it from that angle, and started really digging in. Like, how could I create a site that gave people this next level? I guess we should go to the next slide because that's what we're talking about.
Right.
But that leads me to Fisheez, the first blockchain powered association for trading goods and services. And what that means is an association is I'm creating a Swiss association in Switzerland. So everyone has voting rights. We're
Mm.
starting there because the laws are great. And my lawyers actually started Ethereum and Cardano Foundation. So I have these amazing lawyers. And it's just the best place to start is Europe because they have all these new laws, which is a slide at the end of here, which we can talk about. But
Mhm.
so Fisheez is for trading goods and services. And let me get to the next slide. And so our vision or our mission is really to get out ahead of the CBDCs and the banks and the markets from failing. I have a firm belief that the markets are failing and the banks are failing and the BRICS nations are taking off and doing their thing. So I'm trying to get people a life raft so that we can have a commerce community to where people can buy and sell goods outside of the banking system without the control. It's goods and services with the voting right to decide on how you want the platform to be run, how you want to be treated. And 8% goes to charity, which I'll get into in a minute, of all the revenue that comes in. And we're just staying away from the banks for the most part and trying to play in the field, be legal, do it correctly, and just try to make it so that all of the rules benefit the people. You can make enough money to keep the thing going and build it, but it doesn't, need to bury everybody else. And not to, you want to give people profits and ownership and a feeling of, you know, com- community. Really, is what I was trying to do.
Mhm.
And we can go to the next page. I can kind of go through how I'm doing that.
Mhm.
So, like I said, our technology, we're using a Base, which is built on Coinbase. It's a layer two of Ethereum. And we're also using Chainlink, which is basically able to talk to FedEx or title companies or DocuSign or anything real world that
Mm.
can come up in the future. And we're building it using smart contracts so you can easily list goods and services for sale or auction. And it looks like eBay.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is the payments are made using stable coins. So when someone wants to buy something, they click on your deal, and if they want to purchase it, they will send money directly from their wallet directly to the blockchain. We don't touch the money ever,
Okay.
but that money sits in that smart contract for a time lock amount of whatever you decide with the buyer seller. So it could be a 30-day, it could be a something shipped to somebody. So there's a 30-day window, and if you don't get your item, it can be verified and it can be stopped, and the money can be reversed, because what I built is a reversible, refundable system to
Mm-hmm.
where we have a dispute resolution piece where people can get paid to help to resolve disputes, and they just have to take tests and be legit, and then they can come in as part of the community, get paid and help. And as we build this out, we can make those rules on how we want to be treated and how people are, there's a lot of things going on that people don't know much about and don't really care.
Yeah.
I could go on about that with, as far as Amazon and how the returns now, everyone just returns whatever they want.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter to them. But the
Right.
problem is it's driving up all the costs, which is
Yeah.
driving up all the prices.
Mm-hmm.
But Amazon makes money on both sides. They don't care. If you
Mm-hmm.
send it back, they get money. If you don't, they don't care. They're getting money. And all what happens is if someone buys 5 items from me and 2 of them get sent back, I don't make any profit eventually, because I have to pay Amazon to take it back into their warehouse or ship it back to me, and I got to repackage it or maybe throw it in the garbage, because I used to own a headband company and we would get returns and we just throw them away
Yeah.
because people take them out, out of the package, and you know what, lice getting around.
Yeah.
So there's empowerment's what we're trying to do. We're trying to,
So
with community.
let me ask you one question, just to
Yeah,
remind people. How do you get stable coins? What's the best way to get stable coins?
you can buy them on any exchange.
Okay.
You can exchange, Bitcoin for a stable coin.
Okay.
So like USDC, which is Circle, is the company in America that has
Mm-hmm.
that stable coin. You can go in, buy USDC. It's worth $1, and you can buy 10 of them, and it'll be worth $10 in 30 days from now. And you know that's why we use stable coins, because you wouldn't want to put Bitcoin or Ethereum into a 30-day contract, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you're going to get at the end, and then people would cancel if it went up, and they're like, I don't want to give them that much money. They'd be canceling items all the time. So to keep it fair, you need to have. I mean, we're going to offer people, you'll be able to use Ethereum, but most people aren't going to want to do that. Plus,
Yeah.
Ethereum costs so much. Like Base is great because it's virtually free to do trades on it. It's just a few pennies and for small transactions, because they built on top of Ethereum. But Ethereum, if you were to trade a $25 item, it might cost $3 or $4 or $5.
Okay.
So using Polygon, which I was going to do, but using Base, it'll be under 5 cents to make that trade.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we're allowing goods and services. We're allowing people to auction, and they can do new and used goods. It's and actually the next page kind of tells you more about what we offer, because if you look at this chart, low fees on goods. You've got us, and then Amazon doesn't have low fees. Neither does Angie's List or Fiverr. But on goods for Craigslist, you can get cheap things because it's not safe. But the in-person services, Amazon doesn't offer, Angie's List does, and so does Craigslist. But again, there's no secure payment with Craigslist, whereas Amazon doesn't have low fees, they don't have in-person services, and they don't have digital services.
Mm-hmm.
So they just have secure payments and high fees. So Upwork and Fiverr, they have digital services and they have secure payments, but Fiverr's fees are 25%,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Pretty high.
Upwork's only 10,
Yeah.
but Fiverr's 25 for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
then Angie's List doesn't even offer payments at all. You can just
Yeah.
say I'll build your deck. So they just do in-person services. So because of smart contracts and just being able to list things the way that we're able to sort of encompass all these things without a bank and allow people to trade back and forth based on the smart contract, the input that they put in. It's, color of your shoes, blue, this, that. That's just is the data, but the smart contract really only holds the financial information. and the
Mm-hmm.
wallet addresses that it's going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So your item isn't on the blockchain per se, it's just the financial details to it.
Right.
So we have to still, just like an e-commerce platform, we have to keep the data for what was sold, but
Got it.
that's separate from, it's not on the blockchain. So it's just sort of like PayPal. We don't need PayPal because that's what eBay uses is PayPal. So
Mm.
it's we're building basically without PayPal. We are PayPal, or we're like eBay without PayPal. You add blockchain in, and that's how we're doing it.
So you're really disturbing the industry here with a completely new model of exchanging goods and services.
Yes, and it's totally never been seen before. I know that I've been traveling the world and talking to people around the world, and I don't know anyone else that's even coming close to even talking about doing what I'm doing yet. Most people are building meme coins and just trying to make quick money, and this is a little harder, but it's what I feel is the next stage of what really needs to be done because right now people buy all kinds of coins. All they can do is swap for another coin.
Right.
And then real estate's coming and you can start buying real estate now.
Yeah.
But how many people have enough crypto they're going to buy real estate right now? Not but if you have a job or you sell a service and you're selling the $2,000 service to somebody in America and you're living in Europe or something, you can actually do the trade right on Fisheez and do a $2,000 deal and have an escrow set up, and you could have it set up in multiple payments, and your fee would be low. And we have a really amazing system now. I'm selling these Tide Turner NFTs to where the first series of them you're going to have 100% off your fees forever. So
Mm-hmm.
for buying one of these for really low money at first, like $100 the first series, you'll never pay a fee again.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come on, buy $100 NFT, and then you can sell your services forever and never have to pay a fee again for the transactions. And that's one of the ways we're going to bring in people early, and that's a differentiator between us and a public company, because when eBay started, they had to sell shares of their company,
Right.
you know, and then they didn't start making money till they actually had people selling items. I think they did $45 million their first year in business or something like that. And there was 50 million people on the internet then.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 5 billion. So everything's so different now.
It's a different story. So what do you need right now, Scott? What are your next steps? What is important for you to be able to accomplish quickly?
Right now, my next steps is we're finishing our smart contract. We are done with the goods part of it. We're finishing up the services part. And I've already started connecting all the tax software to the back end, the KYC software. My next step is really on the next page is finishing the legal work in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with my lawyers in Switzerland for a year, and then we're going to start the association there. That's done. The paperwork's pretty much ready to go there. But the next step is having a country, and I think I'm using Czech Republic actually is what I'm thinking about now, versus like Germany or somewhere else to go into to the EU, so that I can go to all 27 countries. So that's really the next step, is that we're raising money right now. And I've got my guys still working. We're working on the AI for the dispute resolution piece right now too. And we've got a lot of pieces going, but this right here is one of my most exciting pieces that we didn't talk about yet. It's the charity. Is it, and all the revenue that we make, 8% will go to charity,
Mm-hmm.
and people can set up a contracts and say what they think the charity should go to. So
Oh, that,
everyone's going to be able to vote using their NFTs and go in and say, oh, I'd like for that to get the next money, or this to get the next money. And our first deal is what we're doing is with Water 150. We're going to do a well in Africa. It's an impact well, so that'll be like, I think it's around $8,000 to $10,000 for one well. But we're going to do one there, and I'm going to let them pick where it is. But so that's pretty cool. So members get to vote, and that's just something that's never been done either. And 8% of revenue sounds crazy, but it's never been done. And the more you see what's going on with the world, we really need things like this. If Amazon gave 1% of their revenue to charity, we would have no homeless people.
wow.
We
That's
wouldn't.
so
We
wonderful.
wouldn't have.
So wonderful. Yeah. I love your name, Fishlanthropy. I love that.
Yeah, I like that. Philanthropy.
I know that's a great one. So
So
what?
yeah, this
Oh,
is really
sorry.
the this is it right here. That I already talked about this. So um, we're launching in Switzerland, and then we're going to go to the EU and UK and back in the United
Yeah.
States.
Well, that's wonderful. So, what advice would you give companies that are looking to adopt blockchain into their operations that potentially would be interested in adopting this type of business model that you are working on right now?
If people were trying to build it into their company, they wouldn't do anything like what I'm doing. I've created this thing from scratch, but you know, you'd have to throw out a company to me, and I could come up with something how they could use it. That it's pretty. If you just throw out how could any company use it, small things aren't going to do it right away. You're not going to see people building, hair salons aren't going to do it, but there might be a chain of hair salons that decide to do something on there. But it's going to start out with big things, real estate. You always got to follow the money.
Yeah.
So where's all the money? And it's in banking. It's liquidity. People are creating, different ways to hold money for people and to do lending and that's going to be the future for sure because it's just all electronic anyway. And our banks, you look at your bank account now, it's already digital.
It is. Yeah, everything is digital. Is investing in blockchain a way to avoid a stock market crash?
Well, truthfully, right this second, if someone asked me what they should invest in, I would not say jump right in. I would say dollar cost average because I truly believe, and I just posted today that I think Bitcoin's coming down to 50,000 before it hits 70, only because of the charts and because of the pressures from the markets. Knowing how I know the banks right now, no one's allowing money to flow out of the banks into crypto as easily. I just lost my bank account
Mm,
after a year of using them because I was sending money to Coinbase too often.
mm,
And so I went to JP Morgan after that and they told me they would cancel my account also. So right now, if you can get money into your crypto account, I would bring it in there. If you had $100,000, I would take 20 of it and buy today. And then I would wait a couple days and put 10 more in and then wait 5 more days. And I would wait till after the election
mm.
first, really, truly, I wouldn't put any money into it now. I'd put it all in cash. I would sit absolutely in cash, to be completely honest,
Yeah.
and buy gold if you can get a hold of it, and silver maybe if you can get a hold of that. But crypto, I would wait because the markets are crashing, and once that happens, I just believe the banks are failing. At least they're going to start, and there's a lot going on, and it's just being kind of held up and held back because of the elections, I think. But after that happens and people start to lose their money on the stock market and you see this bubble start to happen, then everyone starts to take their, cryptos. They sell their crypto too because they got margin accounts usually. And
Mhm.
so it'll fall with it. And then eventually it'll sort of kind of come back and it's going to skyrocket. I mean, Bitcoin's for sure. Once all this stuff I think is coming, I
Yeah.
feel like Bitcoin will be at 150,000 by next year for
Okay.
sure. By the end of this year, it might still be down depending on what craziness happens in the next few months, but I would anticipate that if you were to dollar cost average in every couple of weeks now, that you're going to be sitting really pretty in a year from now for sure.
Yeah.
And
Well.
that goes for XRP is going to be crazy because the banks are all building on that. So
Mm,
I always tell people that I don't like them per se, but I feel like that's going to be the biggest winner because everybody and their mom is building on it and they sort of have been holding it back with this lawsuit for 4 years. They're still messing with them, and I guarantee you, after the election, and they're going to take the foot off the neck of XRP, and it's going to take off and be the biggest winner. That's my personal opinion.
all right. Well, that was
We'll see
great.
how this goes. We'll see how this.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. A lot to anticipate, a lot to be ready for. This is great advice, Scott. Thank you very much. I mean, it was
Yeah,
wonderful to hear about your story. First of all, this venture with Fish is, I found it absolutely incredible. The future of e-commerce, right?
yes, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get it done. Just trying to make it before everything happens that I think is going to happen. I want to get it open as soon as I can so that people have an understanding, an idea. Right now, people don't realize why they need it until
Yeah,
they have the control taken away, which I just
yeah.
literally saw that the UN passed some document that I have to look back up now after we got this call, and it's called the something pact, and I have to look it up and send it to you because they literally just gave all the rights up for the WHO
Mm.
to control whatever in any kind of a situation, which we were fighting that, but apparently they went another route. So all of that talk, you start looking into that. It's about they can stop you from using your bank. They can stop you from getting on the subway. They can do all these things when the CBDCs come in. No one's ever seen them before except for in Nigeria and China, and they didn't go over well. But if they actually have their grip and they can actually make you use them, we're going to be like starving for another way to do stuff, and it's coming. So.
Oh, yeah. All right, Scott. So, what's the best way to get hold of you if someone is interested in speaking with you?
LinkedIn or Scott G at fisheez.com is my email. You can
Okay.
find me on LinkedIn real easy. You can type in Fisheez with two EEZ, so
Okay.
Fisheez,
Fisheez.com.
and
Perfect. Great.
we're on every platform, so we're everywhere.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was wonderful information. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this content with Scott. You haven't left any comment, but the video will be on LinkedIn for a while. So don't hesitate to make some comments there or contact Scott or myself for any questions you may have. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks,
We'll
Catherine. You're awesome.
have another webinar like this in the next few weeks to look at your progress and see how things going.
Excellent.
And we will see you all next time.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.